All right, hi, and welcome to episode 2 of the Planting Seeds podcast. I am Josh,
And I'm Nick.
and we are with Harvest Advisory Group. Today, we're going to be talking about a couple of different topics. We're going to sort of reset the format from what we did last week, and we're going to have a main topic, and then we're going to talk about 3 points of interest from taxes, and local financial information. Today, I think we're going to start out with talking about something that Nick and I actually have a lot of experience in, and that is what happens when your side hustle sort of becomes a side hassle. Really depending on at what point does it become beneficial to you to take that hobby into making money or to scale back and just keep it a hobby. Um, Nick, what's sort of your thought on the advice of like, just when is it time to think about, hey, this is making money, should I make a business out of it?
I think it's really more a question of when can it support what your life goals are,
Mhm.
as opposed to just it's making money. That's sort of an arbitrary thought. But if you're making more money doing your side hustle than you are your full-time job,
Mhm.
then maybe that's the time. And then there's some considerations that need to be taken for that. Obviously, health insurance or other things like that might play into that. So when you look at your total compensation versus what you're making as your side hustle, that might be the deciding factor for you before jumping to the full-time business.
Okay. So, I mean, like, and I'm guilty of just saying it, when it comes to like making money, that doesn't necessarily mean that you are like bringing in cash does not mean making money or profitable.
Right.
And I guess that's something that like a lot of times people don't take into consideration. It's like, oh, I have people buying what I'm doing, or I have people like using the services I provide. But what are the steps to make sure, hey, this is profit versus like, oh yeah, this is exciting, you know?
Well, it'd be the same for if it was an actual business, right?
Mhm.
Like you're gonna have your revenues that you bring in, your sales, or the money that you bring in from services. There's expenses that have to get deducted from that number,
Mhm.
and if there's profit at the end, then you look at that and see if that can support your lifestyle.
Okay. So what are some of the things that like, okay, let's say on the side that I am doing woodworking, and let's say that I do custom wood coasters. That's my deal. People love those. They're all about them. I'm like, I am doing really good, and I am selling things. What are the things that I really need to be looking at to be like, am I actually making money or am I just making coasters?
So you would look at your product cost,
Mm,
how much the wood cost, upkeep of the machinery that you would use to make them, whether it's saws or sanders, etc.
mm,
Material costs like stain, things like that. The amount of time that you put into it,
mm.
the time has to have a cost that associated with that, whatever the time is worth. And then, whatever's left over would be show if you're profitable. And we call that margin
Mm.
in accounting. So like your margin on that, if it's 10% or 90%,
Yeah.
can be determined by taking the number that you make versus what you spent, deducting that out, and then the difference is your profit. You can determine what your profit margin is on that.
Okay. So also, like, I mean, and I know we've talked about this before with other things. Like I think a lot of people don't consider there's like a lot of other small things that go into that, especially in like product based businesses. Like, you've got shipping. If you're doing shows like trade shows, you've got to count that into it. You've got your time, your travel. And I know you mentioned like, what's your time worth? How do you recommend someone determining the value of their time?
Um, it really depends on the individual.
Mm-hmm.
If you are someone that you're just kind of doing it as a hobby that you want it to be profitable, then that number can be lower.
Okay.
If you're the only person doing it, you know, you would assume it would be at least minimum wage,
Yeah.
whatever the minimum wage in your state is. Florida, I think, is moving to $15 an hour in September.
Yes.
So that's that would be kind of the baseline that you would want to look at.
Okay.
And then, of course, you could decide that you want to charge an hourly rate of whatever. It can be any number that you want.
Yeah.
But if adding that number to the time that it's taken plus the supplies makes your price go beyond what someone would buy that product at,
Yeah.
then that's not a sustainable hourly rate.
Okay.
So it's really kind of depending on some factors like that, but it would fall somewhere within, minimum wage would be
Yeah.
a great starting point,
Yeah.
and somewhere else. The reality is what you're trying to do. If it's something that you love doing
Mhm.
and you can make money at it, then you're trying to get to the point where it can replace your full-time job, your W-2 job.
Yeah.
And so, take your salary. That's another way to look at it. Take your salary that you make or your hourly rate, divide that by the hours that you work.
Yeah.
And that could be the hourly rate that you would want to charge starting off if you were trying to get out of your full-time job. And then you'd be able to determine how much product you need to sell at that hourly rate and the supply cost.
So let's say that I didn't let's say that I still want to make money off of this, but I don't want to get out of my full-time job. Are there any complications in basically having like two income sources?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, like, lots of people do a side hustle that's a profitable business,
Mhm.
but they also still have their W-2 job.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. It kind of affects the amount of time that you can put into your side hustle, but that's why it's called a side hustle.
Yeah.
And then, multiple people, lots of people have multiple jobs.
Yeah.
So just like that, I mean, if your time is starting to get taken up when you should be at your full-time job, then your boss is probably going to have a problem with that, and
Yeah.
there's other complications that come with that. But yeah, I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't have a W-2 job and a side hustle. You just need to make sure that your tax preparer knows that, or if you're doing your own taxes, that whenever you go into whatever software, you check the box that said, had an income stream other than a W-2. And just because it's a side hustle doesn't mean that you can deduct the taxes yet,
Mhm.
or the expenses yet. Obviously, like, the government wants to know all of your income.
Yeah.
So whatever's left over from the cost of the product to make versus what you sold, the profits, they're going to want you to report that on your tax return, because
And just so we're clear, when we're talking about that, and I know that this is one of those points of contention for a lot of people who do this, cash also should be accounted in that, correct? Not just like credit card transactions.
absolutely,
Yeah. No, no.
the IRS has made that very clear.
Yeah.
Very clear. But yeah, you want to report that. That doesn't mean that it's to the point where it's a legitimate business, and if it's not a legitimate business, you're not going to be able to deduct some of the actual legitimate expenses. But as long as the IRS would classify that business as a hobby,
Mhm.
they're not going to let you deduct the expenses. But once it gets to the point where it is income producing, then yeah, you can deduct startup costs and
Yeah.
things like that. So
Okay, I have another question then while we're talking about this and sort of talking about taxes in a different section, like sales tax.
yeah,
So I know it varies from state to state, but if you are selling online, like you've got an online shop, whether it's through, Etsy or Square, or, most of the time they do this for you, but like, are there steps that you need to take to get ready to do sales tax if you're selling a physical product?
for sure.
Yeah.
You have to set up in your state whatever their version of sales tax accounts are.
Mm.
You have to set that up, have their number that is your identifier,
Yeah.
and then you can put that into the software that's going to be collecting your sales tax, and they'll most of the time will remit it for you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it falls on you, whether that's monthly or quarterly, to file those taxes, and then go from there.
But that's a whole separate thing. Like that goes to the state, not the IRS.
Right.
Okay. So, all right. I think that's one of those things I think that some people don't think about when they're first setting up, where it's like, oh, I'm just going to sell things, and it's like, well, there's other rules to that,
Absolutely. Same thing with employees. Like, there's reemployment tax. If you have employees, you have to have an account to pay reemployment tax on the payroll for those employees.
So let's say it's just you and your spouse, and like you're just doing it. You wouldn't have to have like payroll for that necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
If you are early stages, or you just don't have the profit that would make it more viable for you to switch to like an 1120S, then you're going to be a Schedule C on a 1040, otherwise known as a disregarded entity. And disregarded entities don't run payroll for their owners.
Yeah.
The owners take money out of the company by doing a draw. But once you switch to the 1120S, then owners have to be on payroll. So whether it's it's just you running the thing, but you're making enough profit to be that 1120S classification, then you would run payroll. And yes, you would then need like a reemployment or unemployment tax account to pay those taxes on yourself.
I think, and this is a question that we hear a lot of people who are either starting a business or thinking of starting a business and looking at it. It's like, is there a single point of like income or earnings that says, hey, when should I be an 1120S, or when should I change that?
It's not necessarily about the income that you're earning so much as, or like the gross revenues or whatever, the size of your company, but it's like a calculation. It's a little different for everybody, but the general rule of thumb is like $60,000 to $70,000 of annual net profit.
Okay.
Is the place to switch over, because at that point, the amount of self-employment tax that you're paying on those net profits is greater than the amount of tax you would pay on W-2 income. So it makes more sense that way.
But again, if we're looking back at what we talked about earlier, just because you reach that step does not mean, if it doesn't meet your needs, for it to be your full-time job. Like your taxes may change, but you could still be fully employed, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You can have 2 full-time jobs.
Okay.
It's hard on your schedule.
Yeah.
But you can do it.
Yeah. I know that we you and I have both definitely done things that are side hustle in nature, and I think back at, the things that I wish I had have known. So I started out doing, I was selling books. I wrote books and I was selling them through my website, and I was collecting sales tax separately. And then it became like a whole thing, because you don't make a ton of money, but with the state of Florida, at least, you've got to pay like a bare minimum no matter what. It's like, hey, each quarter you're either paying $50 or you're paying the percentage they say. Right. So it's like, even if on months that or quarters that I didn't make, I made, let's say $13, I'm still paying that $50 for that. Is there a benefit, or is there?
Are you sure you weren't paying late fees?
No, I am. Yeah.
Okay. Because I'll get you on those too.
I did pay late fees the first year, though, or the first time I did it, because I was like, I didn't even know I was supposed to do this. That's on me, though, for not doing my research. But
and see, if you had an advisor that could help you with that, they would have told you to call them, and they would, not make you pay those fees.
Well, this is back in 2019, so I've made some better connections since then.
There you go. That's good.
But yeah, and I think that's one of those things that, again, you don't know going in. I know you've talked about, you've had business in the past, and slightly differently than me, but you've invested in, equipment and things for your businesses more than I necessarily did. But I'm I think it's important, because I purchased a computer, and you can't really write those off until, it's and it does make it, I think in your head, you're like, oh, it's a business expense, but is it a real business? And that's...
Yeah, if it's not a real business, it's not a business expense. It's just you spending money.
Yeah, exactly.
And, for me, I've always joked about some of the businesses I've ran in the past. I ran nonprofits.
Uh-huh.
They weren't supposed to be, but that's what ended up happening. And a lot of that was just, I made bad decisions in the beginning.
Yeah.
Some of it was I didn't know what the next steps were.
Yeah.
Some of it was opportunities changed, and those businesses had to be closed. But for me, that's one of the reasons why I like the idea of discussing things with business owners about what they're planning with their businesses, or the future of what they want to see with their business. Because had I been asking questions like that of people that were further along the path than me, then some of those businesses would have been more successful for me in past years. So that, I think, is one of the main things that I was lacking at that point. It wasn't an ability to make something or an ability to sell something
Yeah.
or knowledge about those things, or even I don't want to say passion for
Yeah.
the product or whatever, but basically that, like, being excited about what I was doing.
Yeah.
It wasn't any of that. It was
Yeah.
just situations changed, and I wasn't prepared for those situations to change.
Yeah.
And then that ended up making those businesses less profitable, and even leading to them being closed within the first year or second year.
Well, I think this is one of those things that people don't think about a lot too. It's like, bad sales or bad revenue is not the only thing that can like be the death sentence of a business. It's also like growing too fast and not being prepared for that. We talk a lot with our clients, like from day one. It's like we it's goal oriented. It's not that, hey, we want you to be like, we want you to be pushing towards something, but we want you to have goals, because if we don't know what your goals are, how are we helping you get there? And that,
There's no way for us to guide you if we don't know where you want to go.
yeah.
So we can make suggestions about your books or whatever.
Yeah.
Sure, right? If we see your books, we can tell you,
Yeah.
maybe this be better this way or this way.
Yeah.
Um, to a large part, accounting is sort of just historical documentation.
Yeah.
Right. But if we know what your goal is and we know how your business is tracking financially, because we've tracked all of that for you, then we can help you see like where the trajectory is, or like it's kind of like navigating in a car.
Yeah.
Or any other type of navigation. Like if you know where your starting point is and you know where your destination is,
Yeah.
there's ways to plot the path to get to the destination. And like that's really what advisory is on our side.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has to start somewhere.
So if you could say like one piece of advice to someone who is like currently evaluating, and I'm not talking about serial entrepreneurs, that's a whole other thing. But if someone who's like really passionate about their side hustle, it's making money, and they're in that in between space of like, do I pursue this? What do, what do I do? What's your advice to them aside from getting an advisor? Like,
Well, that would kind of be my advice, obviously.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
the starting point is ask questions.
yeah,
And if those questions don't lead you to the answers that you're looking for, ask better questions.
Yeah.
Or different questions. And if you don't know what questions to ask somebody who's farther down the path than you
Yeah.
what questions you should be asking.
yeah. I think like that really hits on sort of my thought process on it, and this is something that I have really honed in on, and even the last year. I think sometimes it's more than just asking good questions, but asking like the hard questions of like, hey, poke holes in this. What am I not thinking about? Because we talk about a lot. It's like, you only get stronger by finding your weak points and fixing those. And it's like, if all you have is like the people around you being like, this is a great idea, do it. It's like, okay, but what's wrong with the idea? Like, and maybe there's nothing. Maybe you have come up with a plan that's excellent, that there's no flaws in it. Good for you. I've not done it before, but
You
no,
have,
no,
just to clarify.
no.
There's always weak points. There's
There are.
always holes.
Yeah.
I've been involved in businesses, nonprofits, actual nonprofits,
Yeah.
and like for-profit companies. 4 years, there's always things that can be improved. It's just simple as that.
Yeah.
Once you get where you think you want it to be, there will be things that you can improve that will take you to the next step.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no like, I think especially in the online community, I think people get stuck in these echo chambers of hearing what they want to hear or hearing just positive feedback. Because you have two sections. People are either completely negative or no one wants to say anything negative at all. And none of that advice is beneficial.
Yeah.
You've got to have it coming from both sides. And I think one of the things for us is like, we try and be as honest as we can with our clients about like, hey, this isn't a great idea, or hey, this is excellent, but have you thought about this? And I think it's necessary.
Yeah. There's good ideas and bad ideas, and ideas that aren't good yet.
Yeah.
And just by having some conversations about those things and knowing where you're starting from,
Yeah.
that starting point is probably one of the most important things.
Yeah.
If you're starting from zero, then it's all uphill.
Yeah.
If you're starting from, a lot of profits and you want to maximize more profits, like that's easier to attain because you can throw more money at it. But just because you can throw money at it doesn't mean you necessarily should. And that's where talking to someone about like how it might look, how it might work,
Yeah.
what are the pitfalls,
Yeah.
it's just it's time well spent.
Yeah.
And
It is.
even if it costs a little bit of money to get that conversation, that is not wasted money.
Yeah.
If it proves out that it protected you from some mistake or guided you to that point where you really wanted to be. And that's
Yeah.
any dollar amount. Like, let me put it to you this way: if I promised you that you'd make $1 million,
Mhm.
but to do that you had to spend $50,000, you take that every day, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll spend $50,000 because I'm at net $950,000
Yeah.
and I'm good to go. Same thing. It's the same concept. Like, if you want to make another 100K this year in your business, but it's a $5,000 conversation and planning session, or multiple planning sessions for that kind of fee or whatever. It's different for every consultant.
Yeah.
But you've reached out to a person in that industry, or you've reached out to a firm like ours,
Mhm.
and we can look at those things and help you with planning that out. That money is well spent.
It is.
If it saves you from losing $100,000 this year, you could say the exact same thing.
I was going to say, I mean, I was literally sitting here thinking, I'm like, I know for a fact that you and I have met with people before, and we get in the car and we're like, they're not ready for this.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, we don't charge for that initial consultation, but it's like, I would rather tell them, you know what, maybe hold off on this a little bit and get your ducks in a row, because again, I don't want anyone going into debt or losing their dream or their full-time job, as it were, because they got bad advice.
Yeah. Well, it's like hiring a staff person. Like, you're making some net profits and you want to pay the staff person, and so you think, I want to pay the staff person this much.
Mm-hmm.
And what you don't consider in that maybe is the additional cost, the administrative cost of having a staff person. Like the taxes that you have to pay on payroll, on top of what they're paying on their taxes for the payroll. All of that has to be taken into consideration. If you don't know that's coming, you can look at it and say, I'm going to pay this person X amount of dollars. And that, on top of the additional cost, eats up all of your profits. Now you don't have the money to pay yourself.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're also going to end up paying for a payroll service or someone to run payroll for you, and I don't think people consider that. It's like, oh, I'm just going to pay somebody. No, you're not.
Yeah. And so, like, to talk to somebody and say, maybe hire them as a contractor.
Yeah.
And let them help you build the business.
Yes.
That is probably the best step, the first starting point for your first hire.
Yeah.
Is hire them as a contractor, 1099 them at the end of the year, and you're good to go. And that is a stepping stone to then hiring them as a full-time employee, or even a part-time employee, but on payroll.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of. I think what it really comes down to, the baseline is, it's like, whether you're talking to someone like us or you're talking to someone who has done this before successfully, you've got to have a sounding board. You've got to have something. It's like, you're not to say you're foolish doing it by yourself, but I'm going to say this from experience. It was dumb just going into it blind,
Yeah, it's true. And then there's also the aspect of, like, we do that enough anyways, just people.
Yeah.
Like, when you go to buy a house, you don't know everything that's wrong with that house. You never find that out until after you've bought the house. Going into a new job, like, the guy that you're talking to in the interview makes it sound pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's never that cool.
No.
So, like, finding the right fit with somebody like us with a advisory or accounting, some people make it sound super, super cool.
Yeah.
But it's really not.
Yeah.
It's like, sometimes that their systems don't match with your systems, and their communication style doesn't match with your communication style, and there's just going to be, like, bumping heads and miscommunications the whole time, and it's going to be more struggle. If you find the right people, the right type of person that fits with you, and you're workflows and systems, it'll be a lot easier.
I do want to point out because I think this is. I'm not saying it's special to us, but I think in the area it is special to us where we are that we don't require you to do our monthly accounting to get advisory. Like
Right.
we're happy to offer that business advisory like separate. I mean, do we encourage people to do both? Absolutely, because then but
I mean, we'd still need to see your
yeah, of
financials
course,
because I wouldn't be able to give you a baseline to start
yeah,
from, and and to state that, like, if whoever is doing your books is not doing them correctly and they're parking things in weird spots,
yeah,
if I have bad information to start from, then the outcome is never going to be as good as it could be.
yeah,
But yeah, it's not a requirement for us to come in and consult with you on your business. It's just probably a good starting place
yeah,
for us to look at your financials and say, okay, this is wrong to begin with.
yeah.
This is how you fix this. And
So
then
let's
once
say
that's done, we can tell you more about your goals.
so let's say I'm going to start my business tomorrow and I want to come over here and I'm like, hey, will you help me set up QuickBooks, or will you help me set up this, or will you give me advice? Is that something that we do for people?
We can.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely. There's
yeah,
no reason why we couldn't do that. We know a good bit about QuickBooks. Um, as an administrative task, we can even help you file your LLC with the state of Florida or Georgia, wherever you're
yeah,
at. Um, and like, those options are there.
yeah,
It's more of like a one-time kind of a thing
yeah.
as opposed to like an ongoing engagement. But yeah, we can do that.
Awesome.
Again, it's administrative,
Yeah,
not so much we
yeah.
don't do legal stuff or
No,
HR kind of things, but like,
no, we don't want to get bogged down in that.
right.
That's not our thing. No. Okay. Do you have anything else that you want to add or that you think is important for anyone with like a side hustle to sort of consider before jumping in, or if they're in the middle of it, what to do now aside from like reach out to us and see if we can help you? You know? Yeah.
No, that's it. That's
Yeah.
all. That's all I wanted to say.
All right, awesome. So I want to jump over and we're going to segue into the next thing, which is sort of our news kind of segment. But I do have the first one I want to mention. I'm going to try not to get on a soapbox and go on a rant. So ChatGPT recently launched a small business program, or a small business offering, and what it's really designed is like it's got academies and learning and things like that. But what I sort of want to talk about is AI is a huge thing. Generative AI is lots of conversations about it, and we talk about it a lot. What are your feelings on a business using AI? How should a small business be using AI? Is my question.
Wisely.
Yeah,
Short answer.
yeah,
But I mean, the products that are out there should always be the outcomes that come from it should always be taken with a grain of salt,
mm,
especially if you're using a free plan or a personal plan. Like, there's large opportunities for it to hallucinate,
mm,
which is really it's just taking what it thinks is the right path, and we do this too as
yeah,
humans, right? Like, we all the time give somebody just an off the cuff statement.
yeah,
Somebody says something and you say, oh well, blah blah, and you just kind of made it up on the spot.
yeah,
That's what AI does too.
yeah,
So it's less. It happens less. The better you know how to prompt it, and if you're paying for more of like the business plans, if you're a business owner, you should be paying that $20 a month or something if you're going to use it.
yeah.
Um, but what was the question?
How businesses should be like it, because here's the thing, this is one of the things that I see at least on social media and from this perspective of someone in marketing. It's like I think businesses are using Chat GPT in particular so poorly.
Right. How do you use it?
Yeah, because the thing is, like, I think they're using it just to create their posts and
How
or
to
flyers.
how to use it?
How you should be using it,
How to use it in day-to-day stuff, or how to use it um, to make your business better, or how to use
What
it.
is the biggest benefit to a business for AI right now?
It's faster at writing.
Yeah,
So anything that needs to be written, it can do it faster. And then you should look at it
yeah,
and make tweaks to it and make sure that it's right. Um, if you went to a college class and wrote a paper, you have to cite that paper. You should check its citations
Yeah.
and make sure that those are real.
Yeah.
Sometimes it
They are
makes up
not.
the
Yeah.
citations. Um, but so, how do you take advantage of it?
Yeah.
Let's look at that. There's a new part of that thing you were just talking about. You can do ads in ChatGPT. So when somebody asks it a question about a specific thing that you do, it can populate an ad. And this is on the free plans.
Yeah.
So you're not going to see that on the paid plan. But if it's on the free plan on the
Yeah.
personal side, then you're asking it a question. It'll pop up a little ad at the bottom for that very thing.
Yeah.
And like that's probably the next wave of like marketing for companies. Um, and as far as I can see, I think that's probably the next wave where people are gonna put in ads in ChatGPT for the time being. I don't think Claude has something like that, and I haven't looked at Perplexity enough to know. But you put in that, and it pulls that little ad that you created and says, "Here's somebody that can possibly do that for you."
Yeah.
I think more people are using ChatGPT or Claude as their search engine now.
Yeah.
Or YouTube is doing that, kind of go in that direction where people are searching for information.
Yeah.
Now instead of like in the past, it used to be something you might Google something like air conditioner repairman near me.
Yeah.
And now it's my air conditioner's not working. It like the thermostat's on, but it's not cooling. What do I do? And it populates that, information of did you check this? Did you check that?
People are searching things differently now. Yeah.
And then, if you chat with it for a second and you still can't get that answer, even in Google, Gemini does that.
Yeah.
The AI responses. So, at some point it goes, maybe you should call this person.
Yeah.
So I think AI is probably the next advertising space for people. We'll see how that works. Like, I don't know if I don't think we've really hit the switch yet where people trust AI yet. And the advertisings or the AI videos, like people turn it off before watching part of it even. So I think we're not quite there yet with the trust level. So it might be not the time to really
invest in that.
But the time is coming.
So for let's say for a small business using ChatGPT or Claude, like really right now, like before you put out anything, just use it for a review. I mean, like a second set of eyes.
Yeah.
I think
And then the better your prompt can be, especially if you point it at very specific places. Like, I don't know what you're looking at woodwork.
Yeah.
So you tell it to go look at these 3 specific websites that have something to do with woodwork.
Yeah.
And tell me the best process to get this result.
Yeah.
It'll do better that way than just like, hey, how do I make this?
Specifics about what you're asking.
Yeah. Be very specific. Point it at very specific places. That's the best way to use it.
So, I mean, truthfully, part of the resource and being able to use it well is learning how to use it.
Yeah.
And not just creating Facebook graphics.
And exactly.
That's the rant that I'm not going to go on, but I hate it, just so we know.
Graphics designers don't like making their lives easier.
No, we hate it. No.
So.
All right, I was debating on 2 other topics, and I think I'm going to skip one of them, but we can we may jump on this and do a separate video at some point. I do want to talk about at some point what you think about the the tipping tax in the state of Florida. I'm going to skip that for today.
I will tell you that I'm tired of all the posts on Facebook.
That's why I brought it up, though, because I'm like, it is a hot button topic, but I don't know. I don't feel like it necessarily fits into this conversation today, so I think it's better suited for something else. But I do want to talk about that, so I want you to be thinking about it maybe for the next time we do this. The other thing I do want to talk about, and this is more of a timely thing. Currently, we're shooting this on July 29th through August 20th. Florida has no sales tax on back to school supplies, so take advantage of that. My question to you about that is, I definitely want to let people know if they're going to take advantage of it. what's the reasoning or the benefit behind that? Is it just to help parents, or is there something else? You know?
Um, okay.
Yeah.
I, thanks for
I'm
that.
just throwing you on the rock here.
So yeah, sure. Yes,
Okay.
it's for parents
Okay. That's all it is.
because the school kids don't care. Maybe it helps teachers because as I'm aware,
Yeah.
sure you are aware,
Yeah.
teachers often buy supplies for the kids in their
Yeah.
class. Whether or not that should be the case or not.
I don't know
Um,
if there was some sort of secret Black Friday thing here going on. There's some sort of like benefit for like there's
you mean like it makes people think less hostilely about politicians? Yeah, okay, there's
yeah.
that. Sure. I
Yeah.
mean, in Georgia, where I live, the governor um, paused the gas tax
Mm-hmm.
for a little while there while the whole Strait of Hormuz thing was happening, and that was really great, and people really responded well to that. And
Yeah.
I know I spent about 50 or 60 cents less a gallon on gas than you did.
Yeah. Sure as heck you did.
So that you know,
Yeah.
but that guy's leaving office, so
Yeah.
it didn't help him.
No.
I don't know. I think it's just something that they've done for years, and at this point, it's something they have to
It's
continue to do
traditional at this
because
point.
they've done
Yeah.
it. So maybe in the beginning it was
Yeah.
like, hey, going back to school. I don't know.
Yeah.
We would have to look back and see historically, like, was that during an election year or not? But
It's interesting. Yeah.
yeah, I really feel like you just came out of left field with that
I
question.
sure did.
So,
So one of the things that we wanted to do with this is we wanted to sort of make them more conversational. And I do during our phone calls. I often like to ask Nick something like, "Hey, this is not work related. Or this is out of left field. Tell me about this."
and I have opinions,
Yeah.
obviously. So
No, but so that's all for today's podcast. We're going to sort of end it there. I do want to give a big shout out to 50 Cal Coffee in Live Oak, Florida, who graciously allowed us to come shoot here. We may start doing this weird thing where we just shoot at coffee shops around town because we've already had another offer, which is exciting. So yeah,
and I like coffee.
we do love coffee. Of course, today I've got some like a Red Bull energy drink, so that's exciting.
Yeah, it's too hot for coffee right
Well,
now.
I've also already had coffee today, so judge me if you will. But yeah, again, I am Josh, and this is
Nick.
and we are with Harvest Advisory Group, and we'd love for you to check us out online and see if our advisory services or accounting may be a good fit for you. Have a great day.